Hello and welcome to Maltbox, the non-chill filtered whiskey blog. I'm Andy and this is Whiskey Review 120. What I have for you today is a Speyside Single Malt Scotch Whisky. It's also quite a widely available and affordable Speyside Single Malt Scotch Whisky. It's a no age statement Speyside Single Malt Scotch Whisky. It's this. The Glen Moray Elgin Classic Sherry Cask Finish. And there it is, guys. Hopefully, again, I'm using my iPhone still, so hopefully this is going well. By the time I've recorded all these, you might be saying, that camera's terrible, I don't know. There's the bottle. See a bit of an insight, the very sort of recognisable, traditional Glen Moray bottle shape there. Now, I've recently, well I say recently, not too distantly, reviewed the Elgin Classic Port Cask Finish, and it just so happened that I was gifted a bottle of the Sherry Cask Finish. So, I've already mentioned, this is a no age statement whiskey. This forms part of the Elgin Classics range, which you can find not only online at specialist retailers, but you can find in the supermarkets in the UK as well. So I've reviewed the Port Cask Finish, I've reviewed the original Elgin Classic, I'm going to review the Sherry Cask Finish today. There is also a peated finish as well. So this is effectively a very similar base spirit to the other releases. So this particular range was the sort of brainchild of Graham Cool, who was basically the previous, well he's now the ex-master distiller at Glen Moray, who now heads up distillation at Dingle Distillery in Ireland. So not only has he changed distillery and changed jobs, he's changed country. And something that's quite interesting actually, I noticed that his signature's still on this bottle, and I only had this delivered a couple of days ago from a very generous friend. So there's his signature on the bottom there, Graham. Very, very nice guy indeed. So, something that Graham did when he started at Glen Moray, and something that he introduced over the years is probably a better way of describing it, is he sort of amended their wood policy. And what he did is he basically switched to focus on more initial first fill ex-bourbon maturations. So historically, I think Glen Moray tended to use a lot of refill, a lot of hogsheads and things like that, a lot of older casks. However, Graham switched to try and use more ex-bourbon, more first fill ex-bourbon. So this isn't a sherry matured whiskey. This has basically gone through a finishing period in ex-sherry casks. What type of casks? I'm not too sure because I don't think it actually tells you anywhere. Oh, here we go. Sorry, I do apologise. Oloroso, so double matured as they describe it on the back. I would say finish, but that's how for debate because it depends on the amount of time that's spent in the second casks. Double matured / finished, selected from the finest American oak barrels. There's your ex-bourbon, and finished in Oloroso casks, specially selected by our master distiller, that's Graham, from the world famous Jerez sherry producing region of Spain. This is bottled at 40%. I actually believe it to be natural colour, from discussions that I've had with Ian at the distillery previously. I mean, I'd say it's a shame about the 40%, however, I do still drink a lot of 40% whiskey. Sometimes I don't want something that's 55 or 60%. Sometimes I just want something that I can kind of sit down with and chill with and relax with. And at the end of the day, I believe, again, I got this delivered by a friend, but I believe this costs about 20 quid a bottle. £20 for a single malt Scotch whisky, particularly one that's been finished in sherry casks. Natural colour as far as I'm aware as well. So with that in mind, there is that colour. Sort of, well, as I always say guys, it's varying shades of gold, isn't it really, whiskey, let's face it. Slightly deeper than usual gold, I guess you could say. Some nice legs forming around the glass. On the nose. So it's a really nice combination for me on the nose there of that ex-bourbon influence. You've got your vanillas, you've got your spices, but you've then also got this really nice kind of milky coffee, dried fruit and chocolate note as well, which is down to the sherry. Possibly a little bit of ginger, maybe a slight hint of cinnamon in there as well on the palate. Considering that's 40% and I believe chill filtered, mouthfeel still quite good. Get away from me, fly. I hope you could see that fly then, I'm not going mad. The finish, again, I'm getting the milky coffee, a flat white, if you will, for me, with oat milk, because I don't drink milk. Some toffee, raisins, maybe something like some sort of baked goods. I don't know, maybe blueberry muffins or something, because it's quite sweet and there is a bit of a fruity note in there as well. Finish, as well as that coffee, I'm getting a bit of golden syrup, a slight hint of spice. Going back to the nose, again, a really, really nice combination of ex-bourbon with those sherry influences there as well. This, full disclosure, this is the first time I've actually sat down with this properly. I've had a couple of glasses out of it in my rocks glass just after a couple of days of work that have been pretty stressful recently, to be honest with you. So I thought, you know what, why not just open this straight away and just kick back. You know, nothing particularly overly complicated, but I discovered very, very quickly, which is why I wanted to review it, that it was very approachable, it was very easy drinking, but it was also very flavoursome, very tasty. Not amazingly complex, arguably, although I have just listed a load of flavours off. But, you know, it's a nice little dram. It is. It's a bit similar to what I said about the port finish, sorry. I think this probably just edges the port cask finish. I do like the port cask finish, but I think they might just about edge it. It's got the right amount of depth for me. It's got the right amount of complexity without being too overthinking, if that makes sense. It's an incredible price point, and I think when you look at this particular bottling compared to what you would get in those supermarkets for 20 quid, and that's not when it's on sale, that's 20 quid, it's head and shoulders above a lot of things at that kind of level. You know, I mean, that's blended whiskey kind of territory, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I love blended whiskey, but that's famous grouse is normally about 15 quid, 16 quid. And this is head and shoulders above that. Just one more. I'm just might as well finish it off. A really nice balance between sweetness and spice, and it's not going to intimidate a lot of new whiskey drinkers. It's also still going to keep, I'd say, seasoned whiskey drinkers, but that doesn't sound great. It also keeps people such as myself that have been drinking whiskey for over a decade quite interested. It's plucky. I like it. I really, really do like it. It's a credit to Graham at his time at Glen Moray as to what he's done with some of their stock. And Glen Moray nowadays, it's not a small distillery. It's got a capacity of over 6 million litres a year. It is 6. So, you know, they're not a small distillery by any stretch of the imagination nowadays, but they've clearly got some really, really good spirit there. So, thanks very much for watching, guys. I'm going to box it off now. See you soon.